XL නම් භාගයයි මාසයකට වඩා රිදි සුවතයි.
Tonight, too complicated to tell. International ocean pollution expert answers the million-dollar question on the nodal issue.
These events do not follow any one clock. They move forward and back. We just don't know.
The right moves. SEC chairman talks of how new systems can make Sri Lanka an attractive investment destination.
We are hopeful that with the introduction of the DVP, our market will be more attractive to particularly foreign funds when they look for markets to invest in.
The efforts of a few. Sri Lanka breaks a daily vaccination record as nursing unions launch a 2-day strike. Waiting for good news. The economy and COVID-19 fears top the list of concerns as business confidence takes a marginal dip. All this and much more coming up on this Thursday, the 1st of July 2021.
හඳුන්වා දෙන නව ක්‍රියා ෂැම්පූ තුන්ගුණයක් ක්‍රියාකාරී ඇන්ටි ඩෑන්ඩ්‍රෆ් තාක්ෂණයෙන් ඉසේ සම පෝෂණය කර ඉසුරු ඉවත් කරමින් නැවත ඇතිවීම වළකයි. නව ක්‍රියා ෂැම්පූ.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Shanella Fernando in your top stories for tonight. Sri Lanka's largest environmental disaster has laid waste to hundreds of kilometers of beaches, leaving thousands of tons of plastic noodles and other debris to scar what was once the most sought after beaches in the world. With the public questioning when they can be brought back to some semblance of normalcy, senior scientist Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution Dr. Chris Reddy says that the extent of the damage has too many factors to accurately answer such a question. Dr. Reddy stated that media outlets such as AdaDerana were, however, asking the right questions, such as what can be done and when.
The average Sri Lankan had never heard the term nurdle before last month when the MV Express Pearl disaster struck off the coast of Colombo. Spilling its contents into the ocean as a result of the fire, hundreds of kilometers of coastline are now littered with the billions or possibly trillions of the tiny microplastics and other chemical products. The cost to Sri Lanka's marine life so far has been nothing but horrific. So far, over 1,000 metric tons of debris, including the microplastic nurdles, have been carted away off the beaches into special storage. However, the biggest question remains, when do we no longer have to see them strewn around?
I've heard from lots of interested parties. Again, Derana TV and the Daily Mirror have asked lots of questions. And this is the question that I'm constantly asked, and it's an entirely reasonable and I appreciate it, which is, when are things going to get better? When is everything going to be perfect again, or like it was before the spill? Unfortunately, incidences like this and how they play out, they don't have a calendar. There is no milestone. It's not turning some age in which you have this certain luxuries of freedom. There is none. These events do not follow any one clock. They move forward and back. We just don't know. It's chaotic. The reason why this is so challenging is that, trying to explain to, is that there's a thought that on some day, Sri Lanka and the coastline is going to be better again as a whole, and almost like a yes or no. In reality, there are many, many other clocks, each single part that's involved in this spill. There's not one of these chaotic clocks. There's hundreds and thousands of them for all the areas that have impacted in Sri Lanka. And they all work at different rates and accuracies. So we want to phrase and think about recovery on a more specific basis. When is the beach going to be cleaner again? And how certain it's going to happen? What about the fish? When are the fish going to get better? And when are the dolphins going to get better? They all have different endpoints and different timelines. You have to celebrate the fast recoveries, look to them, and while you're looking at the data, get a better understanding of why recovery may be lagged in certain parts.
Dr. Reddy also paid tribute to the tireless work being carried out by Sri Lanka's responders, who continue to work despite massive odds to erase the stain of Sri Lanka's biggest environmental disaster.
And also, again, I can't say it enough, I'm so impressed by your responders. And these people on the beaches in these suits and having to wear masks during a pandemic is inspiring. And, I applaud everybody involved.
Chairman of the Securities and the Exchange Commission Viraj Dayaratne is hopeful that foreign investments will return to the country, charmed by the positive changes being introduced to the Sri Lankan market. He added that the current regulatory mechanism and the protection offered through this are attractive elements that checks the right boxes for prospective foreign funds. Speaking to Indivari Amuwatta on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana, Dayaratne went on to allay fears over the soon-to-be online delivery versus payment system, assuring that the new systems has zero negatives for investors and provides optimum protection.
We're hearing about a lot of concerns pertaining to delivery versus payment system that is being introduced by the Securities and Exchange Commission together with the Colombo Stock Exchange, and you intend to go live on the 26th of July. But what are you going to take away from the investors by introducing this system?
This is necessary if we are to move forward. The main objective is to minimize the asset commitment risk. We have had no issues with post-settlement. And you asked me from an investor perspective.
What you're taking away from investors?
We are not taking away anything. In fact, we are guaranteeing settlement. As far as sellers are concerned, that's a concern, because delivery versus payment is, as at now, the moment the transaction is done, the ownership gets transferred to the buyer without a firm commitment about the settlement. But with the introduction of the DVP, the transfer takes place at T+3, 3 days from the trading date. So it's an incentive actually. The investor should be happy about it. And if we are to move forward as a stock exchange, this had to come. We are hopeful that with the introduction of the DVP, our market will be more attractive to particularly foreign funds when they look for markets to invest in. They have a tick box. Whether a particular market has a DVP settlement mechanism is one of the items they look at.
What changes will be brought about? Because the concerns about whether there will be changes to day trading or whether there will be changes in terms of settlement, these are all massive concerns brought forth by investors. How would you establish their confidence?
There is no change as far as investors are concerned, the way they trade, what they do now and what will happen after the introduction of the DVP. What takes place is something between the brokers, the broker back officers and the CDS. Their systems had to change. So this new settlement mechanism, and we introduced a new margining model that was specially catered for our market. This is something for the benefit of our market.
Securities and Exchange Commission Chairman Viraj Dayaratne also touched on its approach, along with the Colombo Stock Exchange, to attract foreign investments into the country.
There has been a lot of challenges in terms of attracting foreign investors, but what is going to be the SEC and CSE model or approach going forward?
Foreign outflows, no doubt, is a concern, but take the region, it's a pattern. It's something that is taking place, but that doesn't mean that we should just lie down and watch the situation. We need to attract foreigners, but there are certain things that they look at when they decide whether to invest in a particular market. Some of the rating downgrades that we have seen, maybe one aspect that affects foreign investment, but we need not unduly worry because this is a phenomenon that we see in the region. But we are doing a lot to attract foreign portfolio investment. We need to go step by step. So this is a huge step, I would say, which will bring confidence to our market. And the way we have handled the market, the regulatory mechanism that is presently available, the safeguards that are there, investor protection, all of those, the exit mechanism, you can come and go. So those are positives that we have in our market, and we need to do more. We had this investment forum, first of its kind we saw recently. So these are measures that are being taken to attract foreign investment, and we are hopeful when things improve that they'll come back.
Director General of Health Services Dr. Asela Gunawardena today continues to urge seniors over the age of 60 in the Western Province to go out and get their vaccinations at the special inoculation centres set up at main hospitals. Meanwhile, health authorities racked up a record 170,995 vaccinations yesterday, their highest in a single day. The country's vaccination rollout targeting priority groups continues in full swing. Yesterday, 170,995 jabs were administered, marking the highest carried out in a single day. Further, as of last evening, the epidemiology unit confirmed that a total of 1,749,500 people have been immunized with a single dose of the Sinopharm vaccine, while 684,352 have received two. In terms of the Sputnik vaccine, 114,795 people have received their first dose, while 14,427 both doses. Further, AstraZeneca first dose receivers stand at 925,242, while 378,307 have received two doses as of last evening.
We have distributed 5.5 lakhs Sinopharm vaccine within the Western Province, 100,000 to Gampa district, 1.5 lakhs to Colombo Regional Director's Health Service area, 50,000 to Colombo Municipal Council area, and 1 lakh again to Regional Director Health Service area at Kaluthara. We started this vaccination on Monday, and especially targeted group is 60 and above adults, and we observed that there were less number of adults coming in Monday and Tuesday, but yesterday the turnout is very high and we have vaccinated almost 100,000, and we hope to complete this vaccination by Friday within the Western Province. This vaccination program, our priority group is 60 and above adults, so I earnestly request all the adults who are 60 and above to go to the nearest vaccination center, nearest MOH office or the hospital, and get your vaccine as soon as possible.
In other news, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed officials to begin immunizing school teachers.
We had a discussion with the health ministry officials and we'll start the program in the next week. Probably within a 1 week time, we'll be able to finish the vaccination of school teachers.
In the meantime, 1,864 COVID-19 infections were confirmed across the island yesterday. This number includes 1,786 district infections and 78 foreign arrivals. Colombo confirmed the highest number of cases with 365. In addition, 254 infections were reported in Kaluthara, 221 in Gampaha, 138 in Galle, 122 in Ratnapura, 100 in Batiklo, 97 in Nurelia, 81 in Kandy and 53 in Anuradhapura. The 355 remaining infections were spread across the 16 remaining districts. Meanwhile, with receiving confirmation on 1,815 more infections for the day, the country's total number of active cases rose to 29,987. The country's recoveries, meanwhile, too rose to 227,840 after 1,888 patients were discharged after complete recovery during the day. At a time when the entire country is engulfed in a pandemic situation, leading nurses' unions in the country launched an island-wide strike, bringing operations at main hospitals to a standstill. The two-day trade union action was launched, calling for several demands to be met, including the granting of promotions. The Public Service United Nurses Union, Government Nursing Officers Association and the All Ceylon Nurses Association launched trade union action today over unmet demands. The demands include promotions every 5 years, the inclusion of nursing staff in work shifts similar to other government staff, and immediate solutions to problems they face in the COVID-19 battle. Nursing staffs of all hospitals and health institutions joined the strike today, barring specialized hospitals such as COVID treatment centers, women and children's hospitals, and the Apeksha Cancer Hospital in Maharagama. However, all nursing staff at specialized hospitals voluntarily reported for duty out of uniform and without marking attendance. The strike resulted in the disruption of services at hospitals across the country, including the Colombo National Hospital, the Colombo South Teaching Hospital, the Colombo North Teaching Hospital, the National Eye Hospital, and the Kandy National Hospital. The strike is set to continue for a second day tomorrow.
අද සේවසකට වැඩි ජනතා විශ්වාසය නව සංයෝගයක රයිනෝ රූෆින් සහ සීලිං ෂීට්.
Police media spokesperson Senior DIG AdaDerana says that special surveillance operations will be conducted over the weekend to raid parties and other illegal public gatherings. Meanwhile, several more Grama Niladhari divisions across the country were isolated today to bring the virus spread in those areas under control.
Despite inter-provincial travel restrictions still in place until further notice, police in Grand Pass today intercepted a private passenger bus from Batiklo with 36 passengers on board attempting to enter Colombo. The passengers, along with the driver and conductor, were subsequently placed under arrest. The police say that action is to be filed in courts under quarantine laws against all those taken into custody. In other news, police media spokesperson Senior DIG AdaDerana gave an update on ongoing operations to nab those flouting quarantine laws.
Total number of 403 suspects have been arrested in connection with the offences of face mask, social distancing and the violation of quarantine rules and regulation for a period of last 24 hours. The highest number of suspects have been arrested by Kandy, Mathale and Kuliyapitiya divisions. We are continuously conducting quarantine operations across the country in order to apprehend the persons who violate the quarantine rules and regulations. In addition to that, we are intending to conduct a special operation, especially in the weekend on Saturday and Sunday, in order to monitor the situation. We are going to deploy police officers in Mufti in order to conduct surveillance operations, especially in respect of public gatherings and parties. Therefore, every time adhere with quarantine rules and regulations and respect the quarantine rules.
Meanwhile, several localities in the districts of Jaffna, Kandy and Nuwara Eliya were isolated due to an increase in COVID-19 cases in those areas. Accordingly, the areas of Kalliteru and Kalavantalavu in the Kates police area of the Jaffna district were isolated at 6 a.m. today. Meanwhile, Velamada Paragama of the Kandy police area in the Kandy district and parts of the Dansiren Estate GN division in the Nuwara Eliya district were also isolated this morning.
We return after this short commercial break. Stay tuned.
ගෙදරකට තේ හදනවා කියන්නේ වෙනම වැඩක්. මැලිබන් තේ ගෙදර පදමට තේ.
Welcome back. In more news, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today assured that he will not reverse his decision to ban chemical fertilizers because he says he is assured that the decision is the right one that will only help Sri Lanka's agri-economy grow. He made these observations during a meeting with representatives of a national farming collective at the Presidential Secretariat today. A group of farmers representing a national farming collective met with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa this afternoon. The collective consists of 1.1 million farmers, 17,000 farmers' organizations and 563 agrarian service centers. The meeting was also attended by ministers, including the subject minister and other members of the parliament.
සමහර අය පෙන්වන්න හදනවා මේක මේ අපි ආපස්සට යන ගමනක්. අද කාබනික පොහොර ඉහළම තැනක පවතින්නේ. මුළු ලෝකේම අද එතෙන්ට තමයි යන්නේ. ඒක පාපස්සට යෑමක් නෙවෙයි ඉදිරියට යෑම. දැන් අපි දන්නවා අද ඔය කාබනික පොහොරවල ගෙන්වීමට විරුද්ධව කතා කරන අය කන්නේ කාබනික පොහොර වලින් හදපු ආහාර. ඒව කාලා අනිත් අයට කවන්න හදනවා මේ වස විස දාලා හදපු කෑම. මිලියන 80000 අපි මේ පොහොර ගෙන්නන්න පමණක් මේ රට වියදම් කරනවා. දැන් කාටද මේ සල්ලි යන්නේ? මේ සල්ලි යන්නේ පිටරට ඉන්න සමාගම් වලට. නමුත් මේ අපි ගත්ත තීරණය නිසා මේ ආර්ථිකය දේශීය ආර්ථිකයක් බවට පත් වෙනවා. අපිට පුළුවන් අර පොර පිටරට කර්මාන්ත වලට දීපු ඒ මුදල් ගොවි මහත්තයා අතට දෙන්න. මම තමුන්නාන්සලාට සාතික වෙනවා ගොවි මහතුන්ට ලබා දුන්න ඒ ආර්ථිකය අපි දියුණු කරනවා මිසක් කඩාවැටෙන්න දෙන්නේ.
The age limit for compulsory retirement of medical officers of all grades in the public service has been extended through the issue of a Gazette notification yesterday. The communique was issued by the Minister of Public Services, Provincial Councils and Local Government, Janaka Bandara Thinnakon. As per the amendment made to the provisions of sections 2 and 17 of the minutes on pensions, Medical officers in the public service can now retire at the age of 63. The amendment is effective from the 20th of April 2021, the Gazette notification announced. In May last year, the Cabinet of Ministers green-lighted the amendments to the minutes on pensions in order to extend the compulsory retirement by 1 year. Thereby, the age limit for compulsory retirement of medical officers in public service was extended to 61 years, which was previously at 60. We'll return after this short commercial break. Don't go away. Welcome back in business news. Business confidence has dipped in the month of June to 87 points, with the impact of the pandemic cited as the most pressing issue by the business community. The spread of the virus highlighted as the main national worry, and concerns rising about the economy.
The Business Confidence Index for the month of June recorded a slight drop of 2 basis points to end at 87, continuing to shed gains made at the beginning of the year. Having recorded its lowest value this year for the second consecutive month, the index is now below the 96 mark it recorded 12 months ago and 20 points lower than its 12-month average. In the report, Nielsen IQ's Director Consumer Insights Terika Mianadenia called June a disastrous month where the country faced a triple blow of monsoonal floods, the COVID-19 third wave and the massive Express Pearl environmental disaster, which added to the country's burdens. In terms of sensitivities, the impact of the pandemic was cited as the most pressing issue by the business community. The spread of the virus was highlighted as the main national worry, and concerns about the economy appear to be growing. Further addressing projections, Mianadenia acknowledged that the virus continues to affect the country and pointed out that the fuel price hike may have a potential impact on the business and consumer confidence indices. This, she added, would have a cascading effect on all services and goods sold in the country, with possible price hikes in all sectors. In addition, the report cited the receipt of vaccines from China as a positive sign for the country's vaccine rollout, which would bode well for the index. Overall, the report says that the future direction of the index would depend on the country's response to challenges in the healthcare and policy spheres, in addition to whether or not travel restrictions will be imposed off and on.
Rising prices in the food and non-food categories have sent inflation in the month of May up to 6.1%. In addition, the central bank's inflation report also showed that year-on-year food inflation hit double digits, rising to 10.3% in the month of May as well.
Headline inflation, as measured by the year-on-year change in the National Consumer Price Index, increased to 6.1% in May 2021 from 5.5% in April 2021. This was mainly driven by the monthly increases in prices of items in both the food and non-food categories. Meanwhile, year-on-year food inflation increased to 10.3% in May from 9.7% in April 2021, while year-on-year non-food inflation increased to 2.5% in May 2021 from 2.2% in April 2021. Further, the NCPI, measured on an annual average basis, increased marginally to 5.4% in May 2021 from 5.3% in April 2021. In addition, the monthly change in the NCPI was recorded at 0.95% in May 2021 due to increases observed in prices of items in both the food and non-food categories. Accordingly, within the food category, increases were observed mainly in the prices of coconut oil, rice and fresh fish. Moreover, prices of items in the non-food category recorded an increase during the month due to price increases observed in the health, housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels and furnishing, household equipment and routine household maintenance subcategories. Further, year-on-year core inflation increased marginally to 4.2% in May 2021 from 4.1% in April, while annual average core inflation remained unchanged at 4.4% in May 2021.
The All Share Price Index fell to 7,728.61, losing 109.15 points, and the S&P SL 20 Index of more liquid stocks too lost 12.14 points to end at 2,956.12. Market turnover was 1.4 billion rupees. Here's Dimantha Matthew with your daily update on the market performance.
We've seen continuous volatility in the index, and this has led to a downfall in the market today. So we are seeing a 109-point decline in the market today. The index decline is the biggest drop we have seen in 9 weeks. So this is now leading to a overall negative sentiment in the market with lower confidence levels among investors, specifically the retail investor community. Turnover levels with that are seeing a decline where overall turnover dipped to around 1.4 billion rupees, and overall we are seeing turnover being led by the banking sector counters. So we are seeing high net worth and the bargain hunters coming into the banking sector counters, which are trading at distress levels and having significant upward potentials.
With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Have a good night.